I need your help. Look at me in the eyeballs. Look at me. Look at me. Should I shave this? Or should I keep it? I was showering and I was shaving. And I got to the mustache. And then I said, you know what? I have a video to record today. I'll let the viewers decide. So comment. Do I keep the stash? Do I shave the stash? It was media day today. Monday, June 9th, of the time of this recording for the Raiders, and I saw Aiden O'Connell. I was like, Aiden O'Connell jump scare. I forgot he was even here on the team. And I was like, mustache. Should I do it? So here it is. Do I keep or not? You let me know. You dictate my life at this point. It is what it is. We have a lot to discuss. My name is Rodney. If you already knew that, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. Jaire Alexander, cut. What's this guy's name? What's the linebacker's name? Germaine. I can't think of his last name. What is that guy's last name? Germaine Pratt. Oh my God, how did I forget that? Germaine Pratt. Cut. These are two top 10, top 15 players at their positions that we need, cornerback and linebacker. We're going to talk about that. And you saw the little parentheses at the end of the title of this video. It is the call-in show. This is my number, 725-235-0264. You can call this number at any time, leave a voicemail, and it might be played live on the show. A question about the Raiders, about life, about movies, music, whatever you want to listen to, whatever you want to talk about. I could potentially answer that. So here's the question. If you want to call in live, you have to join the Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. Last thing I'll say, we started a new video series, Raiders Retrospective. My first one is on Rich Gannon. Go check that out. I think that's going to be every Monday for the time being. If it continues to do decent, then I'm going to continue to upload it. And I enjoy making them, and they're easy enough to make. So I'm going to do it. And we're going to see how it goes. That's a new series that some people in the Discord have asked me to do. So I'm doing it. By the way, Discord, link in the description below. That's completely free. Hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. You know, all that good stuff. And there's that number again if you ever want to call in. So we're going to get to I'm just looking at Bleach Report just in case we sign any of these guys. We're going to get to Jaire Alexander and Germaine Pratt right now. We're going to get to the call-ins in a little bit because we've got some fun call-ins from some people that did call in last week and some completely new people. I'm very excited about that. But first, like I said, let's talk about Jaire Alexander and Germaine Pratt. Now, I've got these little articles pulled up here. We're not going to read the entire things because they're way too long, but it's just a summary of who they are and if the Raiders would be interested. So, top cornerback just came available. This is via Silver and Black Pride. Bill Williamson, we read this all the time, and he says, Packers release star Jaire Alexander. Mandatory minicamp week begins with a top player suddenly becoming available as Green Bay Packers decided to release standout quarterback Jaire Alexander. Post-June 1st cuts. That's why Spy Tech saved us all this money. I'm telling you, now's the time to pounce. There was talk earlier in the offseason. I feel sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. There was talk earlier in the offseason that the Packers could trade Jaire Alexander, but there was also talk that the two sides could restructure his deal to keep him in Green Bay. In the end, he was now a free agent. There is expected to be a wide interest around the NFL. Jaire Alexander is 28, of course. The Las Vegas Raiders could be among the teams that need to pursue Alexander. While the Raiders coaching staff has praised their young group of cornerbacks, it could use another veteran presence, and Alexander is intriguing. He is a top cornerback when healthy, but that has been an issue. He missed 10 games each of the past 2 seasons. So that's the knock on Jaire Alexander. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about good old Jaire. And here's what I want to discuss. There has been talk that the coaching staff is happy with our current cornerback room. We've got Ja'Cory Bennett, who's CB1. We've got Stokes and Holmes backing him up as the veterans that are okay at best. You've got Porter, who's a rookie, who's a Richard Sherman archetype, and you've got DCam from last year. Those are the guys that I believe are going to be in the mix, right? And I've seen a lot of reports that they're really focusing on the technique of these guys because they think these are the guys they're going to roll into the new season with. Now, maybe they didn't think Jaire Alexander was available. Maybe they tried to trade for him, and that wasn't something that they can get done. Maybe they think he's too expensive for the amount of games he missed the last 2 seasons, and that's totally understandable. But when this guy plays, he's a top 10 corner in the league. It didn't say Packers release role player Jaire Alexander. It said Packers release star Jaire Alexander. So it's going to come down to the contract. It's going to come down to, is somebody going to give him the money that he probably deserves, or is every team in the National Football League going to wait and see what everyone else is going to offer, and the Raiders come in at the last second and give him the highest value, but still something that we can afford, because we have the 4th most cap space, post June 1st, which is what I talked about. This is one of the free agents that was going to become available that we didn't know about initially. And the same could be said for Germaine Pratt. So let's go into here. Germaine Pratt. Where are we going? Bang. Las Vegas Raiders are already connected to star linebacker who just hit free agency. ESPN's depth chart for the Raiders has them starting Devin White, Atlanta Roberts, Tommy Eichenberg. Like, that's just not going to get it done if we want to really, like, push for the division. And maybe they don't want to, but that's not going to get it done. Every roster, or not that they don't want to push for the division, maybe they just think, like, this is what we're doing right now, and then we're going to build upon it for the future. I get it. Every roster linebacker beyond White and Roberts is largely unproven, so many Las Vegas Raiders fans would like to see the Raiders add another linebacker before training camp. Those fans immediately turn their attention to former Cincinnati Bengals linebacker Germaine Pratt after the NFL world was shocked by the news that he was released by the Bengals on June 9th, 2025. Pratt is an attractive option for the Raiders because he could bring both veteran experience and leadership to a young, growing Raiders locker room. Let's see. Raiders fans remember Pratt well because perhaps the highlight of his young career came against Las Vegas when he made the game-sealing interception for the Bengals in the 2021 wildcard playoff game. That was Germaine Pratt. It was Cincinnati's first playoff victory in 31 years. Wow, that's hilarious. Ball didn't even get to the end zone, Derek. We're not going to watch that. The Bengals did not release Pratt due to his issues with his productivity. I'm just making sure that I have that. I always get stressed out that I'm not recording. Okay, I'm recording. Okay. Pratt is only 29 years old and is coming off a season where he finished top 10 in the NFL with 143 tackles. Instead, Cincinnati and Pratt do not seem eye to eye on a contract. Pratt was entering the final year of a 3-year, $20 million contract. He abruptly requested a trade out of Cincinnati on February. I mean, I'm in. Germaine Pratt is a close teammate of Jacoby Myers and A.J. Cole when they went to NC State together, so there's a connection. Myers expressed support for Pratt in 2023 after he signed a 3-year contract. He tweeted about it, I guess. Raiders fans should keep a close eye on the social media accounts of Pratt and his former NC State teammates in the coming days. See any indication that the old friends are linking back up. And NC State superstar trio, a little strong there with A.J. Cole and Jacoby Myers, would only bring the Raiders to greater heights in 2025. And that was Ethan who wrote that article. I mean, look. How do you say no to these guys? Jaire, I get it. Like, he's a little injury prone. Germaine Pratt, game-sealing interception in the playoffs in 2021. I did not remember that was him. We got to sign this guy. Like, I'm not going to be revisionist history when we don't sign him and we roll into the season and go, like, you know what? No, it's okay. We're going to roll with Tommy Eichenberg. Like, we're fine just kind of just winging it and coaching things up here. Because, look, if they don't sign these guys because they get overpaid for, okay, whatever. You wash your hands of it. Like, we have the money, but they want to extend Cole Miller and Jacoby Myers and Daniel Carlson, so I get it. If it's too expensive, it's too expensive. You know, we want to be smart and frugal here, but not cheap. And we're not cheap. We've shown that we can go out and get a Jeremy Chinner and a Landon Roberts. But if they don't sign these guys and then they sign like 1-year, $5 million deals with like the Chargers and the Cowboys, I'm going to be pissed off. Because these are areas of concern for our team, and these are players that can really help us get to that next level. And all of a sudden, now corner is not an area of concern. And linebacker looks a lot better on paper than it did a day ago when Germaine Pratt wasn't a Las Vegas Raider. And I get the argument that, okay, they don't sign them, and that means they believe in what they have on the roster. I get it, but that doesn't always come to fruition. There are injuries, and all of a sudden the depth that you had is gone. And there are players that don't play as well and are not developing. And then there's the flip side to that. Well, You want to develop a guy like Darian Porter, so you don't bring Jaire Alexander to take in all his reps. So, look, I would like to get one of these guys, no doubt about it. If I had my pick of the litter, it would be 100,000% Germaine Pratt, because the linebacker position is a position that concerns me more than the cornerback position. If we can get pressure with the front four that we have, which should be really good, without blitzing, it's going to help, alleviate some of the issues we have at cornerback. But linebacker is linebacker. You got to be able to cover and rush the passer and stop the run, right? Germaine Pratt can help us do all those things. Top 10 in the league, 145 tackles. That's not to be screwed around with. If you can go out and get him John Spytek, you absolutely have to do it. We're going to get into the calls right now. 725-253-0264. Call at any time. You'll hear the voicemail. Leave your name and your question. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we'll get into the voicemails. But like I said, guys, this is your show as much as it's mine. I want you guys commenting away on all your thoughts on Jaire and Germaine Pratt. And, again, on the mustache, which is the most important issue that we have here. All right. Let's hear some voicemails, man. Let's start out with a little John B., a little Outer Banks action. Bang.
This is John B., and I watch your show on the regular. I am a Raider loyalist. I was born in 1970. The merger happened in 1970. All right, enough said. The Raiders run 4 games. The Raiders will win 10 games or more. 2 by the offense, 2 by the defense, 2 by the special team. Real simple. Veteran quarterback, 1,000-yard receiver, Pro Bowl tight end, best running back coming in, and they drafted, 2 wide receivers that combined is going to make the other slot or wide out awesome. The defense going to win 2 games. You don't have a defensive end by the name of Mad Max that can't do it. He will do it. And special teams, kicker, punter, field position, it all boils together. I watch this show. I think it's pretty good, kind of straightforward. But I see the Raiders winning 10 games. They can win 10 games and still be in last place. That's right. They definitely can. So don't worry about it. They're on the right track, moving forward. Whatever direction that is, they're moving forward. Thank you. I'll hear it from you again.
All right. Thank you, John B. 10 games, John B. says. Okay, look, it's not crazy. I have us going 9-8. What's interesting is that he said a lot of things, but what he said that I took away from was we could win 10 games and still end up in last place. I'm trying to think of the division this year that had the best records. Let's do this. Because that could happen. Because let's do NFL standings 2024. Let's pull all these up here. Okay, and then we'll share the screen and we'll look at the standings here. So, obviously that's not one of the... Okay, so look. This was probably the division that is most likely to have 3 teams make the playoffs again, right? You think the Chargers and Broncos both got better. Maybe the Broncos took a little bit of a step back. But none of the other divisions were that competitive. Let's go to the NFC and see here if there were any divisions that had... So the NFC West was the best division in terms of the last place team had the most amount of wins of any team that was in last place last year, and it was the 49ers with 6 wins. So I don't foresee us getting to 10 wins and still being in last place, but I do understand what you're saying about having 10 wins and not making the playoffs. Because if you assume the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos are all in the mix, the Ravens and the Bengals will be in the mix, the Steelers will still probably be in the mix. You've got the Texans. One of these teams here is going to be better than we think. That just always happens. And then you've got like the Patriots, right? Also, you have to remember, though, there are always teams that take a step back. So is that the Steelers? Is that the Texans? Is that the Dolphins? Is that the Broncos? I don't know. Is it the Chiefs? Who knows? But I totally understand your point that while we can win a lot of games, that doesn't guarantee that we're going to make the playoffs. I have us right now at 9-8. I think that's pretty fair. I would say hammer the over. The over right now, I think it might be 7.5. It was at 6.5. If you got 6.5, then congratulations. But shout out to John B. Like I said, shout out to Outer Banks. Great show. Let's go to the next caller here. See what we're talking about.
Hey, Rodney. Absolutely love your show. Anybody listening, make sure you hit the like and subscribe so we can keep supporting Rodney. My question is on the offensive line. I think we've got overall coaching, offense, and defensive coordinators are great. Skill positions on offense were loaded. I'm just concerned with the offensive line. Want to get your thoughts. First of all, what do you know about Brennan Carroll? Is he a good offensive line coach? I know Joe Philbin was last year and was getting these guys ready to go, but Brennan Carroll seems like he's going to be the guy this year. I feel really strong about Jackson Powers-Johnson at the center and our 2 tackles, but we need dominant guards. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on Caleb Rogers, and if Charles Grant will get a start at the guard. If I saw both these guards starting this year, I'd be thrilled. But keep up the great work, Rodney, and love to hear your thoughts on our offensive line and our offensive line coach. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful caller. Appreciate the question. We didn't get a name there, but that's okay. And he asked about Brennan Carroll, the offensive line coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, who is, yes, the son of Pete Carroll. So let's do this right here. I pulled up his Wikipedia, actually, which we know Wikipedia is just always 100% accurate. So Brennan Carroll. Let's read a little about him, and then we'll talk about the Charles Grant, Caleb Rogers of it all. American football coach, offensive line coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. He was the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach for Washington. He coached at USC with the Seahawks. So, yeah, look, is he a little Nepo baby? Sure, but he's also got a lot of ties to teams that aren't, Pete Carroll related. You know what I mean? He was at Washington for a long time and they had a lot of success. He's 46 years old, which I'll kind of get back to that in a little bit here. Let's see. After 13 years in the collegiate ranks, Carroll joined his first NFL staff in 2015, reuniting with his father, Pete. He was the assistant offensive line coach, just promoted to run game coordinator in the 2020 season. In 2021, Carroll joined the University of Arizona staff, so he left Seattle in 2021. He worked under head coach Jed Fisher as the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. In Arizona, 2023, Arizona improved to 10-3. They beat Oklahoma in the ALLaBorde. I mean, that's pretty good for old Brendan Carroll. He was one of several coaches to follow Fisher at the University of Washington in 2024, where he was the offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. In February 2025, he was hired by Las Vegas to serve as the offensive line coach under his father, Pete Carroll. So that's basically what I know about him, is what his Wikipedia page would say. I would say, look, the offensive line coach is important. And Joe Philbin was good at it. Like, he kind of came in there and saved things at the end last season or 2 seasons ago. I would say an underrated aspect of the offensive line coach is their ability to relate to the players, because, yes, the offensive line is a lot of technique and it's a lot of scheme. But I think I would be right in saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the offensive line is the most straightforward position on the football field in terms of physicality. Like, you line up against a defensive lineman, you got to beat him. You got to win your rep. Not a lot of finesse compared to the other, positions out there. Like, there's finesse, there's scheme. I understand that. It's cerebral. But it's the most caveman-like of the positions on the field. And the reason why I think it's important for your coach to be able to relate to you is that you got to want to run through a wall for your offensive line coach. You got to want to say, I'm going to do whatever this guy wants me to do, and I'm going to do it at the highest level. I'm going to win every single rep. And I like the idea of having a Brendan Carroll, who's still younger, 46 years old, to relate to a Jackson Powers-Johnson, to a Caleb Rogers, to a DJ Glaze, right? These younger linemen. You've got your Colton Millers and your Thayer Mumfors and your Whitehairs and your Merediths, right? That have been in the league a long time. They don't need any extra motivation. But the younger guys, I do think it's better for us long-term to have a coach that is younger, that can tap into those younger players to be able to motivate them at the highest level. How do I feel about Charles Grant, Caleb Rogers? Look, I don't know how to feel about them, to be honest with you, because, look, not every lineman, not every draft pick that we take is going to hit. And it's nice to have John Spytek because you think he did well. And Telesco did well last year too with his picks. But not all of them are going to hit. And right now we're in that phase where it's like, ooh, we could plug and play Caleb Rogers, and Dante Thornton is the next DK Metcalf, and Jack Betts is Randy Moss 2.0, and Ashton Genty is Barry Sanders. And all these players are going to be perfect. We're going to look back at this draft and go, these guys were great. These guys were good. These guys got cut year 2. And I'm not saying that it's going to be Caleb Rogers or Charles Grant. I'm just saying that it's unlikely to hit on all these guys. And the people that I haven't heard that much about at camp are these linemen. And that's the nature of the game. Like I said, you can't really jump off the screen as a lineman when you're not in pads. You can jump off the screen as a wide receiver by just running up and down the field all day long. Do I expect them to play this year? I do. I expect probably Caleb Rogers to play a little more than Charles Grant just because Caleb Rogers comes from a little bit of a bigger school than Charles Grant. And I'm hoping that they're both well and that they're both decent. But the offensive line being an area of concern, I get it. It's not as much of a concern with Geno under center because I think Gardner Minshew made this offensive line look so bad last year, the way he would just run into sacks and he had zero pocket presence. I think Geno is going to make this offensive line look as it should have looked, which is probably top 14-ish in the National Football League. So I appreciate the call, and let's get to the next one here. Oop, I just clicked. Where'd that just go? Hold on. All right, here we go.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Mike Hampton from Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, I forgot. I just realized I wanted to give my prediction about the season. Now, I'm going to be honest. The minimum, I can see us winning 9 games.
Minimum.
I can see us winning 9 to 10 games. I really can. I really think we can win 10 games because of the running back. I really think he's going to change his season around for us. I really do, for some reason. I really do. I really, really do. Because I'm going to be honest, I was a little skeptical about Geno. I really was. I really was. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I really would. But that's my prediction. I'm going to give us 9 wins. That's what I'm going to give. You have a great one, brother.
Shout out to Mike Hampton. I called him Mike Hilton last week, and he still found the energy and strength to call in. Again, first time, 2-time caller. 9 to 10 games minimum we're going to win. I think it's totally fair, Mike, to be skeptical of Geno Smith. My only pushback would be if it's skeptical because of its age, I wouldn't be skeptical about that because in the Rich Gannon video that I made, the Raiders Retrospective, check that out. I talked about how what Pete Carroll mentioned about Geno Smith is that he does not have a 33-year-old body because he was on the bench all these years. It's fresh. It's new. It's like a new car. It's like 29-year-old body. If you're worried about his play, I would say the worst season he had in Seattle statistically was the season that Pete Carroll was gone, although they won 10 games last year. And if we just grabbed Geno Smith and threw him on the Raiders, I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I hope he does well. But we have Pete Carroll with him too. It's as if we got Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, right? People are skeptical of Sam Darnold in Seattle because he doesn't have Kevin O'Connell. If he had him, there would be less room to be skeptical. So I totally understand where you're coming from, Mike, but I think Geno's going to be just fine. I think he's going to be exactly what we want him to be. No more, no less. So shout out to Mike, 2-time caller. Appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. Next voicemail incoming.
Hey, I am also a Raider fan because my parents were Raider fans. And I am wondering if, I know in the previous years, the hype has been real. You know, we signed Devontae. We were going to be the best team ever and whatnot. Do you feel like this year is a complete 360 and the hype is real? And also, do you think we can make the playoff push even coming from the AFC West? Look forward to your answer. Go Raiders.
Go Raiders. Go person that made that phone call. Didn't leave a name, but that's okay. First of all, the hype. Well, comparatively, the hype in 2022, when we traded for Devontae Adams, we were coming off a season where we made the playoffs. We hired Josh McDaniels, which a lot of people in the league, and myself included, thought was a good hire. I thought he was a changed man and he was going to be really good. And we added the best receiver in the league at the time. So the hype was through the roof. I predicted that we were going to go to the Super Bowl. This season, I don't know if hype would be the right word to describe what we're feeling about this Raiders team. I think there's a level of trust and comfortability that we're putting into the Las Vegas Raiders right now. But no one's predicting that we're going to win 13 games, win the division, and get to the, AFC Championship. I'm saying 9-8. I don't know if that's hype, but compared to what we were last year, I would say that it's more hyperbolic. Which I just realized, is hype short for hyperbolic? Oh, you learn something new every day. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the feelings that we're having are completely justified because Josh McDaniels got promoted to head coach, right? Pete Carroll didn't get promoted to anything. Spytek got promoted, but Pete Carroll was there to help him, and it seems like we really liked how his draft went. Chip Kelly's not doing a position like head coach that he wasn't good at. He's doing what he's great at, which is offensive coordinator. Patrick Graham is still here. Max is still here. Geno's good. I think the hype level is justified. And could we make the playoffs? I think so. I think 9 games could get you in. It might not get you in. Only time will tell. But I think we're going to have to flip a couple games that we might be not favored in and take care of business in games like a lot of the AFC South games in order to want to make the playoffs and split the division games. That's huge. And if we do that, there's a chance for sure. So thank you for the call, and let's hear the next one.
Hi, this is Raider Energy on the West Coast, a former season ticket holder. I left a message before, but we got disconnected. I just wanted to reiterate what I was just saying before I got cut off. What does the show think about the infusion of the dogs that we have now with Max Crosby? Obviously, Christian Wilkins is going to have something to prove this year. Malcolm Kuntz is going to have something to prove. Then we have the guy they wrote off, Geno Smith. The guy they wrote off, Pete Carroll. These guys have overcome some, Pete Carroll, they wrote him when they said he was too old. Then we got Tom Brady in the front office, and we all know his story. What does the show think about that? No one's talking about that, what that brings to the table and to the organization, to the culture, across the board. I think we got the right people, and they do some big things this year. Also, I want to draw attention that the first 2 picks last year are going to be potential Hall of Fame candidates. It's very early to say, but we see what Brock Bowers is and we see what JPJ is. But what does that infusion of that dog mentality, that underdog, savage bring to the table that nobody's talking about across the league? They kind of pick apart. They'll say, oh yeah, Tom Brady. They'll say, oh, Pete Carroll, oh, Geno Smith. But we're bringing those guys together. That's a culture changer. That's a paradigm shift. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it, dude. Raider Energy out on the West Coast. Was this the same Raider Energy that called me the last call-in show? I think it is. Sounds a little different. Maybe we're just adopting the moniker of Raider Energy. Interesting. Let's talk about it. So the culture thing, and I've seen this. This kind of drives me a little bit crazy sometimes, is that I feel like a lot of Raider fans like to say we need to get back to what we were in the 70s. And it's like, well, if we played that way, we would get penalized every single play. But it was a different time. And I understand, the badass Raider, the chip on your shoulder, the world is against me. I think we have people on this roster like Chip Kelly, not Chip Kelly, like Geno Smith, like Max Crosby, Tom Brady in the ownership group, Pete Carroll, that do feel that sense of, okay, please do your best to count me out because that's what we thrive on. Now, the difference here is I think sometimes people can use that as an ego thing. Like, oh, you don't believe I'm the best? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to catch every pass and I'm going to demand the football and I'm going to do what I think is right. And it's like, no. Let's take that energy and infuse it into how we practice. Infuse it into waking up at 5 a.m. every morning and getting into the locker room. Infuse it into winning football games. And I think Pete Carroll is the perfect blend of motivator and evaluator in terms of putting the right schemes in place in the people around us. Like Antonio Pierce was a great motivator. Like even in the games that we lost, we fought hard, right? We just didn't have the talent. he couldn't implement a scheme to save his life. He couldn't make adjustments on the fly, and maybe one day he will be able to do that down the road when he becomes a defensive coordinator, which I think he could be a great defensive coordinator. Pete Carroll knows how to motivate, and he knows how to implement. And I think that's what we need to focus on. Yes, there's a lot of guys that say, oh, woe is me, like a chip on my shoulder, like I'm going to go to work. But those guys are at the most important positions. Quarterback, defensive end, right? Center, baller in JPJ. Ashton Genty probably hears all the, can his height translate to the National Football League? His stance, he went to a small school. Nah, forget that. Watch what I'm about to do. So Raider Energy on the West Coast, we're talking about it, man, and I appreciate the call. And let's get to the last one here. Christopher Ramos, how we doing?
Hey, Rodney, this is Christopher Ramos. I just have a quick question in regards to the Raiders. I want your opinion on something. With the breakout performances that we've been hearing about with Jack Besh and Dante Thornton through OTAs and such, do you think this might put a fear in the players of like Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers to perform? Because if these young guys show the potential they have, could they be our future at the wide receiver position? Thanks, man. We'll see you. Bye.
Okay, so first of all, Christopher, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Shout out. I see him in the Discord all the time. I believe he's a patron too. Is he a patron? Christopher Ramos. Whoa, hold on. I'm pretty sure he is. Christopher Ramos. There he is. Oh, his name's cut off. Whoops. Bang. Shout out to my patrons. Sign up. Link in the description below. Is Jack Besh and Dante Thornton the future of the Raiders wide receiver group? I think there's a real chance that, yes, that is the case. That could be the case. Is it scaring Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker? I'll tell you this much. It should. It should. Now, I'm not saying Jack Besh is going to be as good as Jacoby Myers, right? If that happens, that would be awesome. Same thing with Dante Thornton and Trey Tucker. If it happens, that'd be great. But this is exactly what Pete Carroll preaches. Compete, compete, compete. We'll sign Matt Flynn, or trade for Matt Flynn. We'll sign Tavares Jackson. We'll draft Russell Wilson. And if the third-round rookie quarterback is the best quarterback, that's who's going to play. If Jack Besh is better than Jacoby Myers, guess who wide receiver one is? So should it put the fear of God in them? Yeah. Should it motivate them to want to play at the highest level possible? Yeah, because that's how diamonds are bred. If Jacoby Myers was just good, right, solid, and now Jack Besh is lighting a fire under his butt, guess what's going to happen? Jacoby Myers is going to become great, an all-pro. If Trey Tucker thought, yeah, I'm doing decent when I'm in the game, and Dante Thornton, everyone's going like, whoa, who's that kid? Trey Tucker's going to be like, okay, I got to step up. And we find out real quickly how motivated these guys are to get better. So thank you for the question, Christopher Ramos. Like I've been saying this whole time, if you want to call in live as a $5 patron, that's all you got to do is sign up to the lowest tier. If you want to call in anytime and potentially get your message read, leave a question anytime. 725-253-0264. Save it in your phone. Call it whenever you want, day or night. You'll hear my voicemail. You can leave a message, and I might get to it live on the show. Like I said, I started a new series, Raiders Retrospective. We're going to take a shot here and see if the series can latch on and stand the test of time. My first video is on Rich Gannon. Go check that out. It's on the channel now. I did this before, but shout out to my patrons at the $5 tier. You get your name at the end of the credits. You get ad-free content. At the $10 tier, you get exclusive content never before seen. You get videos like this days in advance. I'm recording Monday, June 9th, 3:38 my time. It's going to go up right now on Patreon, and then it'll be uploaded the next day on YouTube. Hit that like button, comment away, and please be sure to subscribe. It is free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.